In place of a sermon this morning, we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A, or conversation. It's my pleasure that we have a special guest speaker joining us today, Officer Michelle Gillespie, who is the Jewish Liaison Officer for the Toronto Police Services. And I invited her to join us to share a bit of her own story, how she got into the department, what made her become a police officer, as well as to talk about recent events and what's going on right now around the world and in our city, and how the Toronto Police Services are combating anti-Semitism and the work they're doing. It really is, for me, a privilege to have her join us, and I know that you share my feelings of gratitude towards our police department for the work that they've done to help us to feel safe, coming to our synagogue, celebrating smachot, celebrations, sending our children and grandchildren to Jewish day schools, and standing around our city, standing up for what we believe in, wearing proudly signs of our Jewish identity and speaking out proudly for our homeland, Israel. So with that, I'll invite, please, Officer Gillespie, join me here in the bima. So great to have you with us. So I'll let you take the microphone there, because I'm mic'd here, but it'll pick you up.
Okay. I feel very important. Good morning.
And so I was wondering, just to start off, you could tell us just a little bit about yourself and your own story and journey, both Jewishly and towards becoming a police officer.
So no one ever believes me because of my last name, but I am Jewish. So I have to usually convince the community that I am. I just took my husband's name, who isn't Jewish. But I know policing is not very a common career, I don't think, in Canada for Jewish people. I don't know, it's something just at a very young age I was always interested in, and I did everything that I felt that I had to do. I did it all, right? I went to U of T, I got my degree, I got a master's degree, I wrote my LSATs, I did everything my parents told me I had to do, and I was supposed to become a lawyer, and then I dropped some heavy news on them that I wanted to become a police officer, and they didn't believe me. But anyways, they're very proud, and I kind of forget the question. What was the question? Once I start, I don't stop, so I'm sorry, I don't stop.
That was perfect. Just your own background. What made you want to become a police officer? And
Yeah, so a Jewish girl from Thornhill who never went east of Kennedy Road ended up in the heart of Scarborough as a new recruit in Malvern. That's where I was sent. And boy, the things I have seen. So I spent the majority of my career there. I'm in my 17th year of policing. I became an officer when I was like 12 years old. And, and I loved it. I loved, there's so many directions you can go, intelligence unit, drug squad, this and that. I loved doing the calls for service. I loved it. I don't know, there was something, the adrenaline, the rush. But about a year and a bit ago, I got a phone call from a former colleague, and they said, listen, we're starting to have liaison officers in the service that represent the community, Black liaison, Aboriginal, Muslim, whatnot. We have a spot for a Jewish officer, and I jumped at the opportunity for this, and I was very proud. And I've been doing this for about a year, and it was, it was nice. It was easy. And then October 7th happened, and I have to say, in a good way, this has been the most challenging out of everything I've seen, everything I've experienced in my career. It's been the most challenging for me in a rewarding way, because I'm a police officer, but I'm Jewish, and these two are now combining, and I'm finding that I've really returned to my roots. Don't get mad, but I didn't always light my menorah, or on Fridays I wouldn't always light my candles, but I find that I'm really back to my roots, and being in the community has really helped that.
That's wonderful. Just, I guess, backing up a little bit before this year, where more explicitly you've been now the Jewish Liaison Officer, Are there ways that you felt as a police officer your Judaism has impacted you as an officer, has influenced your role or your work or the values? And
Well, I would say it's influenced it now, obviously. Before, quite honestly, when I joined, it was a different time, and it wasn't very common, or it wasn't a very open environment for me to express who I am. Times are very different now.
what about, have you ever faced anti-Semitism as a police officer, either, God forbid, from colleagues or from those you were dealing with in the public?
So the public never, I mean, no one ever believes I'm Jewish. So, like, they don't.
You're undercover.
I dyed my hair blonde, like, no one ever believes me. So that, not from the public, but, like I said, times were different when I joined 17 years ago. And we've come a long way as a service, and you're not gonna like my answer, but unfortunately there was one incident with former colleagues who are no longer members of the service anymore. It was about 10 years ago, and it was really bad. I won't get into the story, but it was bad, and I was on the brunt end of it because I was Jewish, and yeah. But I pushed through. They were trying to push me out of where I was, and I said, no, I'll wait till you leave. So, and that's what I did.
That's the Jewish story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you won't get rid of me. Yeah, you have to look at my face every day.
So post October 7th, and I've seen myself as a rabbi some of the things that the police service has been doing to help make our communities feel safe, but can you talk about some of the initiatives and programs from your perspective that have gone underway to help fight and combat anti-Semitism?
So there's one really amazing initiative my boss, who's also Jewish, we've been working on with our Toronto Police College, and Francis Simon Wiesenthal has been helping us. We are creating the first of its kind in Canada for police services, anti-Semitism training for officers. Not just for officers, for Toronto Police, it's going to be all members. So we obviously have non-uniform members, civilian members. We have about 8,000, I believe, members total. And it's going to be mandatory for all of them to receive this training. And we hope that once we launch it within TPS, that other police services will agree and we'll launch it with them. Then we want to go provincially, and then our goal is to launch it nationally. Yeah. And also, my boss and I know everyone's going to ask me for one. We've created a Toronto Police Kippah, and we had it written into our rules and procedures for how officers can wear it when they're on duty. And we had our launch of it at, Michael Mawson from B'nai B'rith launched it for us at our Hanukkah celebration at headquarters this year.
Wow.
It's really exciting, yeah. I knew, so, okay, so
That's my next question, actually,
yeah.
too, on the...
I know. We barely have any left because they've gone like crazy. But I have to say, we want to create a new. OPP also has one, and we like theirs better. And now we want to design. They have more money, right? So I will see if I can find some, and yeah, it'll be the first edition.
Do you...
Oh. So it's an online module, and it's the educators at Francis Simon Wiesenthal that have the content, and then we transcribe it for according to Toronto Police standards, right? There's the history of anti-Semitism, history of Judaism, symbols, customs, the different levels, clothing, holidays. Right, because officers who don't work in 13 Division or 32 Division mainly, they don't have any idea, right? So we've heard of some stories recently of some mezuzahs being located on the ground, like outside on the ground at someone's house. And we want an officer to understand that that's not what that means, right? If someone has ripped that down, they don't know. They need to be educated.
So it's actually, this is not your first time recently at Beth Torah. You were here a few months ago.
Yes.
When I had the privilege of some of, like 13, I think, is our local precinct,
Yes.
their division, the new recruits, came for a couple of hours to learn about Judaism. We actually showed them our Torah here, the Goldenberg Torah that was carried over and survived the Shoah, to talk about what that's like and why now so many Jews are so afraid, because so many in our community lived through, or their parents lived through, seeing Jewish businesses smashed, seeing outwards, expressions of hate, seeing Jewish homes vandalized, and what we're going through and what that leads to. And it was really, for me, it was a very meaningful experience getting to hear their questions and getting to chat with them and talk with them about Judaism, as well as what they might need to know about the Jewish community and our diversity, I'll say, right, and the different aspects of the Jewish community. Are there any other, just in general, I think a lot of us know, but other ways that the police services has been just kind of more out and about and protecting our Jewish institutions in the community?
Before I answer that, just really quickly to touch on what you said. So the Jewish education for new recruits was something that we had. This is not just a post-October 7th thing. This is something that we've been doing for the past year and a half, I believe. So it's part of their training. It's called the Community Experience Program, to go out into the community. They go to the Holocaust Museum, and then we have a presentation at our Toronto Police College from a child Holocaust survivor, and they learn about that as well. So initiatives that we've been doing, I'm sure most of you know, like our command centers, we've increased significantly our patrols of synagogues, Jewish institutions, businesses. We've created an online reporting system for hate-motivated graffiti. And then we have myself and some other Jewish officers out in the neighborhood as much as possible.
Is there any advice you'd give your fellow officers about what it means to serve the Jewish community or about Jewish constituents?
I think mainly, officers do serve with compassion. I think that my advice would be to educate yourself. Like, I feel like sometimes when I speak to my colleagues, they don't understand that, like, we're just like regular people, right? I don't know, they have this idea like you're supposed to look a certain way or something like that. I think education is key. I think educate yourself on our community, and that will definitely help. You have to have an understanding of, and that's just not specific to the Jewish community. That's for all the communities that we serve. You have to have an understanding and be able to connect with the community, because that's important.
I think it's wonderful. Something that even in the Jewish world that we're continuing to work on is there's often a very Ashkenazi focus in many communities. And I've heard from many Jews of color or Jews that don't necessarily look traditionally Jewish that they feel they get asked more questions by synagogue security, or if we have police officers at synagogues and things like that, to gain entry than someone else that looks a little more like they walked in off an episode of Seinfeld or something of the sort.
I've actually been hearing that a lot lately from some other members from the community who may not look the way we think they're supposed to look. I don't know what we're supposed to look like, but it's like when everyone always says when I'm not your police officer, you don't look like a police officer. I'm like, what am I supposed to look like? I don't understand. But I've been hearing that a lot, that like from within our own community, that people are stopped at the door because the security may not think that they're Jewish. Yeah, it's interesting how we do that.
Well, it's a diverse community, both in ethnicity and background, but also in practice. It was one of the things that when I was speaking with the officers that was here, I was trying to think about not just in our community, but other synagogues. What are some of the unique nuances of Jewish observance, that in some communities, men and women wouldn't shake hands, or for someone to pick up the phone to call a police officer if there was something that was questionable but not truly life or death would probably not happen in some communities, versus here we would. If there was something suspicious, we'd pick up the phone and we'd call you guys immediately if we had any concerns. So there's just different observances. My last question is, would you have any advice to us, so the Jewish community, in terms of understanding what the police officer experience is like?
My personal experience, or like right
But
now?
both yours and, I mean, in general, in terms of, I think most of us have a very deep appreciation for the Toronto Police Services and the work that you guys do, but if there's anything you'd want to share with us about what it's like being an officer in 2024?
Well, being an officer in 2024 in this present moment is challenging. I'll just speak about my colleagues first. So specifically my friends and my direct colleagues or former colleagues I'm in touch with like on a daily basis. They're sad, they're upset. As police officers, what we're used to is we go into a situation, we get called, we fix it, we move on. We never see them again, right? And that's it. But this isn't, we're seeing the same people, the same things over and over again, and the hurt and the panic, and the officers at the command posts who tell me that they have people coming, knocking on the door, crying, and the officers, are Jewish or not, are sad. They're hurting and they're sad. But I have to say, the officers that don't work within the Jewish community, that have been sent for the project, that work in Etobicoke or Scarborough, all tell me that they want to put transfers in to come and work here, because they're like, everyone is so nice. We're treated so nice. And they're like, and we eat so much. One officer said to me, she actually said, she's like, I'm going on my days off. I need to lose about 6 pounds. I've been eating bagels nonstop. Like, but they're hurting, you know, and they don't, this is, like, I don't know what to say. We're regular people. No one likes having to stand guard at schools. We don't like it. We're parents, right? For me as an officer in 2024, it's rewarding. It's challenging. It's challenging because I come to work but I'm always thinking about like my family at home and what's going on at home and how they're dealing with things, and then they worry about me, right? But I do believe that this is bringing us all closer together, Jewish or not, and that we always come out on top. So, yeah.
I just remember last year, I can't remember if it was summer or springtime, my wife and I went to an event to hear the former Israeli Prime Minister speak, and there was a lot of protests at it, and I had been to some events like that before, but she had commented, because it was her first time at something like that, seeing a large group of people trying to block cars, trying to get in the way, screaming at people, whether they were kids or adults or elderly, just screaming. It was before October 7th. And right, the Toronto Police Service officers were standing there and got right between the people, the crowds, and the people trying to attend the event, and blocked the street to help us be able to park and walk in and everything else. And it was one of those moments that just really thank you for all that you do, and please convey that on behalf of our community to all of your fellow officers. There's, just to finish the thought though, I had a teacher who would always talk about that God isn't in the fire, but the people that run into the building to save people. God isn't in the disease, but the doctors and nurses that care for people. And similarly, the work you guys do really is holy work and sacred work, and we're so appreciative of all of that. And just really and truly on behalf of myself, Beth Torah, and our community, just thank you so much for joining us today, and Shabbat Shalom. It's wonderful to have you.
Thank you.